He had crushed companies and rewritten markets. But the moment a little boy with tangled blonde hair crashed into him and handed him a child's drawing, everything stopped. "I saw you on TV," the boy whispered. "You looked sad, like me." William Caldwell wasn't ready for this. He had buried the past long ago. But one word on that crumpled paper would tear it all wide open. The city pulsed with a restless rhythm, its skyscrapers casting long shadows over the bustling streets below. William Caldwell stood in the glass-walled lobby of Caldwell Enterprises, his empire's nerve center, reviewing a contract on his tablet. At 52 he was a CEO whose name commanded respect in global markets. His tailored black suit was impeccable, his dark hair streaked with gray, every detail a reflection of his controlled life. His schedule was a fortress. Meetings, acquisitions, decisions that shaped industries. Emotion was a distraction he had long banished, a remnant of a past he refused to revisit. As he moved toward the revolving doors, his assistant, Margaret, matched his stride. Her voice clipped. "The board is waiting," she said, glancing at her watch. "The merger vote is in 15 minutes. We cannot be late." William nodded, his focus narrowing to the stakes ahead. But as he stepped onto the sidewalk, a small figure darted from the crowd, colliding with him. A boy no older than 7 stood before him, his clothes worn and too big, his blonde hair tangled. Tears streaked his dirt-smudged face, and his small hands clutched a crumpled piece of paper. His blue eyes, wide with desperation, locked onto William's. "Please," the boy said, his voice trembling. "Take this." He thrust the paper toward William, his hands shaking. William froze, caught off guard. The boy's raw emotion pierced the armor of his routine. He glanced at the paper, a child's drawing, its colors vivid despite the creases. "What is this?" he asked, his tone softer than he intended. The boy's tears fell faster, his words barely audible. "It is for you," he said. "I made it. Please." Margaret stepped forward, her voice sharp. "Sir, we need to go," she said, gesturing toward the waiting car. But William raised a hand, silencing her. He knelt to the boy's level, ignoring the curious stares of passers-by. The drawing was simple yet striking. A house with a red roof, 2 stick figures holding hands, a woman with long hair smiling under a bright sun. The bottom, in shaky crayon letters, was a name, Lucas. William's breath caught, his chest tightening. The name, the house, the woman's silhouette. They stirred a memory he had buried 20 years ago. His sister Charlotte flashed in his mind, her warm smile, her sketches pinned to their childhood walls, her voice promising they would always have each other. She had died in a car accident, leaving him alone, and he had built his empire to escape that grief. This drawing, this boy, felt like a message from her, impossible yet undeniable. "Who are you?" William asked, his voice low, urgent. "Why did you give this to me?" The boy, Lucas, wiped his eyes, his small frame trembling. "I saw you on TV," he said. "You look sad like me. I thought you would understand." William's grip on the drawing tightened, the paper crinkling. "Set." The word struck deeper than he expected. He had spent decades projecting strength, but this child saw through him. "Where is your family?" he asked, his tone gentle but pressing. "Who takes care of you?" Lucas's gaze dropped, his voice a whisper. "I do not have anyone," he said. "My mom is gone. I live at the shelter, but I ran away today." William's heart sank, the boy's words echoing his own childhood loss. He stood, the drawing still in his hand, and turned to Margaret. "Cancel the board meeting," he said, his voice firm. "Reschedule it." Margaret's eyes widened, her tablet clutched tightly. "Sir, the merger." "Do it," William said, his tone leaving no room for argument. He looked at Lucas, whose tears had slowed but whose eyes still held a fragile hope. "Come with me," he said. "We will get you something to eat and we will talk. Is that all right?" Lucas hesitated, his small hand brushing his cheek. Then he nodded, a faint spark of trust in his gaze. William led him to the Bentley at the curb, ignoring Margaret's stunned expression. His driver, James, opened the door, his eyebrow raised but silent. Lucas climbed in, his oversized jacket dwarfing his frame, the drawing's colors peeking from William's hand. William followed, the city's noise fading as the car door closed. "Where to, sir?" James asked, glancing in the rearview mirror. "A cafe," William said. "Somewhere quiet. He needs food." As the Bentley pulled into traffic, William studied the drawing again. The house's red roof. The woman's long hair, the name Lucas. They were too specific, too close to Charlotte's life. She had loved drawing, her sketches filled with dreams of a home they never had. Could this boy be connected to her? The thought was absurd, yet it gripped him, pulling him toward a truth he could not ignore. "Are you a boss?" Lucas asked, his voice small but curious, breaking the silence. William's lips twitched, the question disarming. "Something like that," he said. "My name is William." "What made you draw this, Lucas?" Lucas looked at the drawing, his fingers tracing the crayon lines. "I dream about her," he said. "The lady with long hair. She tells me to be brave. I thought if I gave it to you, you would know what to do." William's throat tightened, the boy's words stirring a longing he had suppressed. He saw Charlotte in Lucas's earnestness, in the simple act of giving a piece of himself. The cafe's warm lights appeared ahead, a haven in the city's gray sprawl. As they stepped out, William felt a shift within him, a decision forming. He did not know what the drawing meant, but he knew he could not walk away from this boy, from the echo of his sister, or from the chance to be the man she had believed he could be. The cafe was a warm haven, its walls adorned with mismatched art and the air rich with the scent of fresh coffee and pastries. William Caldwell sat across from Lucas in a corner booth, the boy's small frame dwarfed by the cushioned seat. Lucas's oversized jacket hung loosely, his blonde hair still tangled, but his blue eyes were brighter, the tears from earlier replaced by a cautious curiosity. The crumpled drawing lay on the table between them, its vibrant colors, red roof, smiling woman, two stick figures, stark against the polished wood. William's fingers rested near it, as if touching it might unlock the mystery it held. The city's hum faded beyond the cafe's windows, the world narrowing to the boy and his creation. William studied Lucas, his mind still reeling from the encounter outside his building. The drawing, with its haunting familiarity, had stirred memories of his sister, Charlotte, whose sketches had been his solace in their childhood poverty. Her death 20 years ago had left a void he had filled with ambition, building Caldwell Enterprises to escape the pain. Yet, Lucas, a stranger with a name scrawled in crayon, had breached that fortress, his raw vulnerability echoing Charlotte's spirit. A waitress approached, her apron slightly askew, her smile kind. "What can I get you?" she asked, her pen poised over a notepad. William glanced at Lucas, whose eyes widened at the menu. "What do you like to eat?" he asked, his voice gentle. Lucas hesitated, his fingers twisting the hem of his jacket. "Can I have a grilled cheese?" he asked, his voice soft. "And hot chocolate?" William nodded, warmth stirring in his chest. "Make it 2 grilled cheeses," he said to the waitress. "Add fries and 2 hot chocolates." She jotted the order and left, her glance lingering on Lucas's worn clothes with quiet sympathy. William leaned forward, his hands clasped on the table. "Tell me about yourself, Lucas," he said. "Where have you been staying? How did you end up outside my building?" Lucas's gaze dropped, his fingers tracing the drawing's edge. "I live at a shelter," he said, his voice barely audible. "It is crowded and people yell a lot. I ran away this morning. I saw you on TV last night talking about your company. You looked like you needed something. Like me." William's throat tightened, the boy's words cutting deeper than he expected. Needed something. He had spent decades projecting control, yet this child saw a truth he had buried. "Why did you draw this?" he asked, gesturing to the paper. "What does it mean to you?" Lucas's eyes flickered with a mix of hope and sorrow. "I dream about her," he said, pointing to the woman in the drawing. "She has long hair and a nice voice. She tells me to keep drawing, to be brave. I thought if I gave it to you, you would know who she is." William's breath caught, the description too close to Charlotte, her long auburn hair, her gentle encouragement when he doubted himself. He studied the drawing again, the redroofed house a mirror to one Charlotte had sketched obsessively, a dream of stability they never had. "Who taught you to draw like this?" he asked, his voice low, urgent. "My mom," Lucas said, his eyes glistening. "She loved art. She said it was how we talked to people who are gone. But she got sick and then she was not there anymore." William's chest ached, the boy's loss echoing his own. "What was your mother's name?" he asked, a suspicion forming, fragile but insistent. "Anna," Lucas said, his voice breaking. "Anna Reed." William froze, the name a jolt. Anna Reed. He knew her, Charlotte's best friend, a quiet artist who had shared their teenage years, sketching beside Charlotte in their rundown apartment. Anna had been at Charlotte's funeral, her face pale with grief, promising to stay in touch. William had pushed her away, consumed by his pain, and lost her to the years. Could Lucas be Anna's son? The possibility was staggering, a thread connecting his past to this moment. Tell me more about her, William said, his tone steady but urgent. What did she say about her friends, her family? Lucas wiped his eyes, his small hands clutching the table. She talked about a lady named Charlotte, he said. She said they were like sisters. They drew together, made plans to have a big house someday. Mom kept her pictures in a box, but I do not know where it is now. William's heart pounded, the drawing burning under his gaze. Charlotte's pictures. Remembered Anna and Charlotte hunched over sketch pads, their laughter a rare light in their dark world. If Lucas was Anna's son, he was tied to Charlotte, to William's own history. The food arrived, and Lucas ate with a hunger that broke William's heart, his small bites deliberate as if savoring each one. William barely touched his sandwich, his mind churning. Why did you run away today? He asked, his voice soft but probing. Lucas swallowed, his eyes on his plate. The shelter was going to send me somewhere else, he said. They said I was too much trouble because I kept drawing instead of listening. I did not want to go. I wanted to find you. William's grip on his mug tightened, anger rising at the system that had failed this boy. He saw himself in Lucas's defiance, a child fighting to hold on to what mattered. You are not trouble, he said, his voice firm. You are brave. And you found me. Lucas's eyes brightened, a flicker of trust. The waitress returned, setting down hot chocolates topped with whipped cream. Lucas's smile was small but real, his fingers wrapping around the warm mug. William watched him, memories of Charlotte flooding back. Her sharing a stolen cookie, her promise to always be there. Lucas was not her, but his art, his resilience, felt like a gift, a chance to honor her memory. What happens now? Lucas asked, his voice tentative, the whipped cream smudging his lip. William leaned back, his resolve hardening. You are not going back to the shelter, he said. You will come with me to my home. We will figure this out together. Is that okay? Lucas hesitated, his eyes searching William's face. Then he nodded, his small hand reaching for the drawing. Can I keep it? He asked, his voice soft. Of course, William said, sliding the paper to him. It is yours. They left the cafe, the drawing tucked in Lucas's jacket. William led him to the Bentley, where James waited, his expression unreadable but kind. The drive to the Caldwell mansion was quiet, the city's lights blurring past. Lucas clutched the drawing, his small form swallowed by the leather seat. William's mind raced, the name Anna Reed echoing. It needed answers. About Anna, about Lucas, about the drawing's uncanny connection to Charlotte. He did not know what he was stepping into, only that he could not turn away. The mansion's gates opened, revealing its sprawling lawns and stone facade. William felt Charlotte's presence, urging him to protect this boy, to uncover the truth that had found him in a child's trembling hands. The Caldwell mansion stood like a quiet sentinel, its stone facade softened by the golden light of morning. Inside, the air carried the faint scent of polished wood and fresh linens, a warmth that contrasted with the sterile grandeur it once held. William Caldwell descended the staircase, his steps deliberate, his mind heavy with the weight of the boy now sleeping in the guest suite. Lucas, the 7-year-old who had thrust a drawing into his hands 2 days ago, had upended his carefully ordered world. The crumpled paper, with its red-roofed house and haunting name, lay on his desk, a puzzle that stirred memories of his sister, Charlotte, and her friend Anna, both lost to him, yet somehow present in this child. In the kitchen, Lucas sat at the island, his small frame perched on a stool eating pancakes, drizzled with syrup. Clara, the housekeeper, a kind woman with silver-streaked hair, hovered nearby, offering orange juice with a gentle smile. Lucas's oversized jacket was gone, replaced by a borrowed sweatshirt, his blonde hair now clean but still tousled. His blue eyes brightened as William entered, a flicker of trust breaking through his usual caution. Good morning, William said, taking a seat across from him. His voice was calm, but his chest tightened at the sight of Lucas's small hands gripping the fork as if the meal might vanish. Morning, Lucas said, his mouth full, a shy smile tugging at his lips. These are better than shelter food. Clara chuckled, setting a plate of toast on the table. You eat as much as you want, she said, her tone maternal. There is plenty. William's lips twitched, Lucas's earnestness disarming. Did you sleep well? He asked, his coffee mug warm in his hands. Lucas nodded, his eyes darting to the window. The bed is huge, he said. I thought I would get lost in it. William's chest warmed, the boy's wonder a stark contrast to his own childhood, where a shared mattress with Charlotte had been their only comfort. He thought of the drawing now, framed in his study to preserve its fragile lines. Its resemblance to Charlotte's sketches, her red-roofed houses, her dreams of a home, gnawed at him, a mystery tied to Anna, Lucas's mother. If Lucas was Anna's son, he was a link to William's past, a responsibility he could not ignore. Lucas, William said, his tone gentle but deliberate, we need to talk about what happens next. You cannot stay at the shelter, and running away is not safe. I want to help you, but I need to know more. Can you tell me anything else about your mom's box, the one with her pictures? Lucas's fork paused, his eyes clouding with memory. It was silver, he said, his voice soft. She kept it locked, but sometimes she showed me stuff. There was a picture of a lady with long hair like in my drawing. Mom said it was Charlotte, her best friend. She said Charlotte was special, like an angel. William's breath caught, the name a blade and a bomb. Charlotte, his sister, had been Anna's anchor, just as she had been his. Did she say anything about me? He asked, his voice low, almost afraid of the answer. Lucas tilted his head, thinking. She said she had a friend named William, he said. She said he was smart, but he got lost after Charlotte died. She hoped he was okay. William's grip on his mug tightened, guilt surging. Anna had remembered him even after he had cut her off, burying his grief in ambition. He had failed her just as he had failed Charlotte, and now her son sat before him, alone and vulnerable. Thank you, he said, his voice thick. That helps. The drawing's significance grew heavier, its lines a bridge to his past. William stood, his resolve hardening. Finish your breakfast, he said. We are going to the park today. Need some fresh air. Lucas's eyes lit up, his smile wide. Can I bring my crayons? He asked, his voice eager. Of course, William said, warmth spreading through him. He left Lucas with Clara and retreated to his study, where the drawing sat under glass, its colors vivid. He called his lawyer, Evelyn, her voice crisp through the phone. I need your help, he said, his tone urgent. There is a boy, Lucas, a runaway from a shelter. I took him in. His mother was Anna. Reed, a friend from my past. I think he is connected to my sister, Charlotte. I want to keep him safe legally. Evelyn's pause was heavy, her tone cautious. William, this is complicated, she said. If he is a runaway, social services will be involved. You cannot just keep him without authorization. Do you have any proof of your connection to his mother? William's gaze fell on the drawing, its crayon lines a silent plea. Not yet, he said. But Lucas mentioned a box with Anna's things, pictures, letters. I have an investigator looking for. His mother knew me, Evelyn. She named me in his life. That is a start, Evelyn said. But we need evidence, a letter, a will, something concrete. Social services is already asking questions. Someone saw you with a boy matching Lucas's description outside your building. They want him returned to their custody. William's jaw clenched, his eyes on the drawing. That is not happening, he said. Fine. Wait. I will pay for whatever it takes. I will try, Evelyn said. But prepare for scrutiny. They will look at your life, your home, your capacity to care for a child. This will be a fight. Do it, William said, his voice firm. He ended the call, his mind racing. He thought of Charlotte, her belief that he could rise above their pain, her sketches a testament to her. Oh, Lucas was her legacy, a chance to protect what she would have loved. He hired a second investigator to track down Anna's box, hoping for a letter, a photograph, anything to strengthen his case. That afternoon, William took Lucas to a nearby park, its grassy paths alive with the hum of summer. Lucas ran ahead, his crayons clutched in a small bag, his laughter bright as he sketched on a notepad by a pond. William sat on a bench watching him draw, his small hands moving with purpose. The boy's joy was a balm, but the looming threat of social services weighed heavy. Why do you like drawing? William asked, joining Lucas on the grass. Lucas looked up, his eyes serious. It makes me feel close to her, he said. Mom said, drawing is like talking to someone far away. I draw the lady from my dreams and it feels like She is here. William's throat tightened, the boy's words echoing Charlotte's. You are good at it, he said. Like someone I used to know. Lucas smiled, offering him a crayon. Want to try? He asked. William hesitated, then took the crayon, sketching a simple tree beside Lucas's house. They drew together, the act grounding him, a connection to Charlotte's memory. As the sun dipped low, William felt a shift within him. Lucas was not just a reminder of his sister. He was a purpose, a reason to be the man she had seen in him. He did not know if he was ready, but he knew he could not let this boy go. As they returned to the mansion, Lucas's small hand slipped into his, and William vowed to uncover the truth behind the drawing to protect the fragile bond they were building. The Caldwell mansion was a haven of warmth, its grand halls softened by the traces of a child's presence, crayon sketches pinned to a bulletin board, a small pair of sneakers by the door, the faint sound of laughter echoing from the garden. William Caldwell stood in his study, the framed drawing from Lucas resting on his desk, its red-roofed house and smiling woman a constant pull on his heart. 3 weeks had passed since the boy had thrust the crumpled paper into his hands, tears streaming down his face. In that time, Lucas had become a fixture in the mansion, his quiet resilience and vivid imagination filling spaces William had long left empty. Yet the threat of social services loomed, a reminder that their fragile bond could be severed without proof of a deeper connection. William's gaze lingered on the drawing, its crayon lines a mirror to his sister Charlotte's sketches, her dreams of a home they never had. Lucas's mother Anna had been Charlotte's best friend, a link to a past William had buried after Charlotte's death 20 years ago. The boy's words, his dreams of a woman with long hair, his mother's stories of Charlotte, had sparked a suspicion that Lucas was more than a stranger. If Anna had named him in her life as the drawing suggested, William was determined to honor that trust, to protect her son as Charlotte would have wanted. He moved to the kitchen where Lucas sat at the island, coloring a new sketch with intense focus. Clara, the housekeeper, was nearby, chopping vegetables for dinner, her presence a steady comfort. Lucas's blonde hair was neater now, his borrowed clothes replaced with new ones that fit, but his blue eyes still carried a quiet vulnerability. He looked up as William entered, a shy smile breaking through. Hey, Lucas said, pushing his sketch toward William. I made this for you. William took the paper, his chest tightening. It was another house, this one with a blue roof. A boy and a man standing in the yard, their stick figure hands joined. At the bottom, in careful letters, Lucas had written, William and me. The simplicity pierced him, a child's vision of belonging that echoed Charlotte's own drawings of hope. This is beautiful, William said, his voice thick. He sat beside Lucas, resting a hand on his shoulder. You have a gift just like your mom. Lucas's smile widened, but his eyes flickered with sadness. She said, drawing makes things real, he said. I draw you because you are real now. William's throat closed, the boy's words stirring a longing he had suppressed. He thought of Charlotte, her sketches pinned to their childhood walls, her belief that art could hold a family together. Lucas, he said, his tone gentle but urgent, we need to talk about your mom's box, the one with her pictures and letters. Do you remember anything else about it? Where she kept it? Lucas's crayon paused, his brow furrowing. It was in our apartment, he said. Under her bed in a secret spot. She said it was her treasure. There was a letter in it with your name. She read it to me once, but I was little. William's pulse quickened, the mention of a letter a lifeline. What did it say? He asked, his voice steady despite the urgency. Lucas tilted his head, thinking. Something about you being family, he said. She said if anything happened to her, you would know what to do. William's chest ached, Anna's faith a weight and a gift. He had failed her, retreating into his empire after Charlotte's death, but her son was giving him a chance to make amends. Thank you, he said, his hand squeezing Lucas's shoulder. That is important. We will find it. Clara set a plate of apple slices on the table, her smile soft. You two are quite the team, she said, her tone warm. Lucas, why don't you pick a book for after dinner? Mr. Caldwell can read to you. Lucas nodded, his eyes brightening, and ran to the library, his sketch left behind. William stared at the drawing, the blue-roofed house, a new chapter in Lucas's story. He called his lawyer, Evelyn, his voice low. The investigator needs to hurry, he said. Lucas remembers. A letter in Anna's box with my name. It could prove I am meant to care for him. Evelyn's tone was cautious but hopeful. That is promising, she said. We found Anna's last address, an apartment in the East District. The landlord says her things were moved to a storage unit after she died. We are tracking it down. But social services is pressing. They want Lucas back in their custody by next week. We need that letter or we will face a hearing. William's jaw clenched, his eyes on Lucas's sketch. They are not taking him, he said. File for temporary guardianship. Do whatever it takes. I will, Evelyn said. But they will inspect your home, your life. Be ready for questions. I am, William said, his resolve unshaken. He ended the call, his gaze returning to the drawing. Charlotte's voice echoed in his mind, urging him to be the brother she had loved, the man who could protect what mattered. Lucas was Anna's legacy and William would fight for him as he wished he had fought for Charlotte. That afternoon, William took Lucas to an art supply store, a bright space filled with paints and sketch pads. Lucas's eyes widened, his small hands touching pencils with reverence. Can I get these? He asked, holding up a set of colored pencils. All of them, William said, his smile genuine. They filled a basket with supplies, Lucas's excitement infectious. At the checkout, the cashier, a young woman named Sophie, noticed Lucas's enthusiasm. You must be an artist, she said, her tone kind. He is, William said, pride swelling. The best I know. Back at the mansion, they set up a small art corner in the library, Lucas's new supplies spread across a table. He drew with focus, his latest sketch showing a garden, the woman with long hair tending flowers. William watched, his heart heavy with recognition. That is her, Lucas said, pointing to the figure. From my dreams. She looks like the lady in Mom's pictures. William knelt beside him, his voice soft. You are keeping her alive, he said. Your mom would be proud. Lucas's eyes glistened, and he leaned against William, his small frame seeking comfort. William held him, the act grounding him, a promise to protect this boy. That evening they read together, Lucas's head resting on William's arm, his sketches scattered around them. As Lucas drifted to sleep, William felt a shift within him. The drawing was not just a clue. It was a call to be the family Lucas needed, to honor Charlotte and Anna by giving him a home. The courtroom was a hushed chamber of oak and soft light, its air thick with the weight of decisions. William Caldwell sat at the petitioner's table, his navy suit sharp but his hands clasped tightly to steady his nerves. Across the aisle, Miss Patricia Hayes, the social services representative, reviewed her file, her face set in a mask of professional resolve. Lucas sat in the gallery, his small frame dressed in a new blue sweater, his blonde hair neatly combed. His blue eyes, so like Anna's, followed William with a mix of hope and quiet trust. William offered a faint smile, a silent vow. I will not let you go. 8 months had passed since Lucas had collided with him outside Caldwell Enterprises, tears streaming as he thrust a crumpled drawing into William's hands. That single act had unraveled William's life, transforming his sterile mansion into a home filled with Lucas's sketches, his laughter, his small footsteps echoing through the halls. William had stepped back from his CEO duties, prioritizing bedtime stories, art lessons, and quiet moments by the garden. Lucas was no longer a stranger, he was a son in all but name, a bridge to Charlotte and Anna, whose memories William had carried in silence for 2 decades. His hearing would decide their future, and the weight of it pressed against him, a test of the man he had become. The judge, a woman with a calm gaze and silver-streaked hair, took her seat. We are here to determine the guardianship of Lucas Reed, she said, her voice clear. Mr. Caldwell seeks permanent custody. Ms. Hayes represents the state. Let us begin. Ms. Hayes stood, her tone measured. Your Honor, Mr. Caldwell's resources are impressive, but his life as a corporate leader is demanding, she said. A child needs stability, routine, emotional presence. Foster care, despite its challenges, provides oversight and structure. Mr. Caldwell's connection to Lucas is based on a letter from the boy's mother, which is not legally binding. The state believes Lucas's needs are best met within our system. Evelyn, William's lawyer, rose, her voice steady and confident. Your Honor, William Caldwell has provided Lucas with a loving home for 8 months, she said. He has enrolled him in school, secured therapy, and fostered his artistic talent. A letter from Lucas's Mother, Anna Reed, found in her personal effects, names William as a trusted guardian. Anna was a close friend of William's late sister, Charlotte, making him family. Lucas has thrived under his care and he wishes to remain with him. Returning him to foster care would be disruptive and harmful. The judge's eyes shifted to a folder containing Anna's letter, her expression unreadable. "I have reviewed the evidence," she said. "Mr. Caldwell, please address the court. Why should you be granted custody?" William stood, his heart pounding but his voice firm. He looked at Lucas, whose small hands clutched a sketchpad, then back at the judge. "I spent my life building walls," he said. "My sister, Charlotte, and Lucas's mother, Anna, were my family when I had nothing. Charlotte died young and I lost Anna in my grief, hiding behind my work. I did not know about Lucas until he gave me a drawing, a piece of his heart, outside my building. That drawing changed me." He paused, his throat tight. "Lucas is not just Anna's son, he is Charlotte's legacy. I failed them both, but I will not fail him. He has taught me what matters, drawing with him, reading to him, watching him grow. I am not asking for custody because I can provide for him. I am asking because I love him and he is my family." The courtroom fell silent, his words resonating like a heartbeat. Lucas's eyes glistened, his small frame leaning forward. Miss Hayes's notes lay untouched, her certainty faltering. The judge turned to Lucas. "Lucas," she said, her tone gentle, "would you like to speak?" Lucas stood, clutching his sketchpad, and walked to the stand, his blue sweater bright under the lights. "I was scared before William," he said, his voice small but clear. "I ran away because no one wanted me. Now I have a home. He helps me draw, reads to me, makes me feel safe. He talks about my mom and Charlotte like they are still here. I want to stay with him." The judge's expression softened, but she remained composed, dismissing Lucas to his seat. The hearing continued with testimony from Clara, who spoke of Lucas's joy, and his teacher, who praised his creativity and progress. Miss Hayes's final argument leaned on procedure, but her conviction waned. The judge called a recess, promising a ruling by noon. William and Lucas waited in a quiet corridor, sharing a bench. Lucas opened his sketch pad, showing William a new drawing, a house with a green roof, a man and a boy planting flowers. "That is us," Lucas said, his smile shy. "You and me." William's chest ached, the image a mirror to Charlotte's dreams. "It is perfect," he said, pulling Lucas close. "No matter what happens, you are my family." Lucas leaned against him, his warmth a quiet anchor. William thought of Charlotte, her belief that art could heal, and of Anna, whose letter had been a lifeline. The investigator had found Anna's silver box in a storage unit, its contents revealing her love for Lucas and her trust in William. The letter read, "If I am gone, find William Caldwell. He was Charlotte's brother, my family. He will care for Lucas." A notebook held Anna's sketches, many identical to Lucas's. Their red-roofed houses a shared vision of hope. It was enough to sway Evelyn, and William prayed it would sway the judge. The court reconvened, and the judge's voice cut through the tension. "This case is about a child's home," she said. "Mr. Caldwell, you have shown remarkable dedication. Lucas, your words are powerful. Based on Anna Reed's letter and the evidence of your bond, I grant temporary guardianship to Mr. Caldwell with a review in 1 year. Build on this and it may become permanent." William exhaled, relief flooding through him. Lucas ran to him, his arms wrapping around William's waist, his smile radiant. They left the courtroom, the city's hum a distant backdrop to their victory. The Bentley carried them home, Lucas's sketchpad open in his lap, his chatter filling the air. Clara greeted them with a celebratory dinner, the table set with Lucas's favorite foods. That evening they sat in the garden, the sky a canvas of stars. Lucas sketched by lantern light, his latest drawing showing a woman with long hair watching over a house. "That is Charlotte," he said, his voice soft. "She is happy we are together." William's eyes stung, his hand resting on Lucas's shoulder. "She is," he said. "And your mom is too. They are proud of you." Lucas leaned against him, his voice a whisper. "Thank you for keeping me," he said. William held him close, their bond sealed. Over the next year, the mansion became a true home. Lucas thrived, his sketches covering the walls, his laughter a constant melody. William opened an art studio in Charlotte and Anna's names, offering free classes to children in need, ensuring their legacy lived on. The one-year review came and the judge granted permanent guardianship, affirming their family. One summer night, they hosted a garden art show, Lucas's drawings displayed alongside other children's work. Clara served lemonade and William helped Lucas hang his latest piece, a house with a red roof, a man and a boy under a bright sun. As fireflies danced, Lucas handed William a crayon. "Draw with me," he said, echoing Charlotte's old game. William smiled, sketching a star above the house. "We are a team," he said, pulling Lucas close. They stood together, a family forged by art and love, Charlotte's spirit a guiding light. William had lost her, but in Lucas he had found redemption, a canvas of hope that would endure.